All right, folks, first thing you're going to need to do is go to the food recipe and get this recipe from the Food Network called Recipe Courtesy of Bobby Flay. And you'll notice it has some ingredients on here, and I'm going to walk you through that here in a second. So make sure you have these ingredients at the house. All right, so here are my dry ingredients. You can see I've got the flour, and I'm not using bread flour like the recipe calls for. I'm going to use just regular, non-bleached, self-rising flour. So not the bread flour. You can use it, it just has a little bit different texture to it. So there's my olive oil, my salt, my yeast, my sugar. A few other things you're going to need. You're going to need a measuring cup. You're going to need a pizza cutter, a large pizza pan. I believe this one is 12 to 14 inches across, some pizza spray. And let's talk about a mixing bowl. If you don't have one of these, you can still do it by hand, but it's going to be very difficult. So if you have a KitchenAid mixer, use it and use this particular bread mixing screw. Get some crushed tomatoes too. This is your sauce. Here's what else you're going to need too. You're going to need some mozzarella cheese, whatever toppings you want. Tonight is pepperoni on half for us. You'll also want for sure some oregano, some butter, some garlic powder, and red pepper is optional, but get it anyway. Also make sure you have a pastry brush for the crust. All right, so I've got my water and it is ready to go into the dry ingredients. Some people ask me, how do I know what the right temperature is? Just think, hot shower water, somewhere between 100 and 110 degrees. Don't go over 110, try not to go under 100, or it either won't rise or you'll kill the yeast. And again, make sure you have a rolling pin for later. I'm going to intentionally screw this up at first so I can show you how to fix some of the common problems with either too much water or not enough. And you can see this doesn't look very organized, and it's not because I did not add enough water. So if your dough is looking like this, you need to add a little bit more water at a time, just very small drips until it comes together. So let me show you. Too much water this time. See how it's kind of messy? Now it looks like it's not going to come out. It's really tacky, so no worries. Just add a little flour. All right, so here is the dough ball. It's not too hard. It's not too sticky. It's somewhere right in the middle. So if you touch it, maybe it feels slightly tacky, but and I'd rather err on the side of caution, having a little bit too wet rather than too dry. It just makes it easier to roll out eventually with a rolling pin if it's normal to slightly wet. Now here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to take this. I have olive oil with my mixing bowl again, and I'm going to just simply put the dough in there. I'm going to cover it with some wrap and come back in about 2 hours. See you then. I'm going to preheat the oven to 500. And if you've done your dough right, it should be almost double in size from where it was before. I'm going to spray my pan and set it aside. All right, so I'm going to take my dough ball out. Come over here. You're going to need to do this process. So you're kind of squeezing your dough ball together, getting all the air pockets out of it. I've got some flour. I'm going to put my dough ball in the flour and I'm going to start giving it some CPR and flatten it out. Then I'm going to get my roller and just try to roll it out evenly. It might fight with you a little bit, but just keep doing it until it's a little bit bigger than the pizza pan. Okay, you cut it right. If you can come in closer, you'll see that the dough has been rolled out and it's a little bit bigger than the pizza pan. All right, now you got to get the dough onto the pizza pan. So watch very carefully. Try to use the back side of your hand. You don't have to throw it up in the air. You can if you want to. Get your hands in here like this, and then just throw it onto the pan. And then as she'll get in closer, what you're going to do is pull the crust out. You want it to overlap the pan by maybe 3/4 of an inch. So you can see there's the pan, there's the crust. Now I'm going to go in and I'm going to fold it over. I'm just kind of sliding along, and there's your crust. Now it's starting to look like a pizza. Come back in and tuck it in. Kind of pull it out so it's all equal, about the same thickness. You want it to be maybe slightly over the pan. See, there's the pan. You want it to be slightly over that so it doesn't shrink. And before you put the toppings on, this is something you need to do. Get your pizza cutter. Now, why am I doing that? This is so you won't get bubbles in your pizza crust. Go ahead. All right, crushed tomatoes. This is a 15-ounce can. I like a lot of sauce. I'm going to use pretty much the entire thing. Here's how you get the sauce. You just kind of shake it. You don't have to ladle it out. You don't have to use a spoon. You can just shake it until it covers the whole thing. Good. All right, so I dumped a bunch of cheese in the middle, mozzarella cheese, and then just use your hands, spread it out. I don't think I got quite enough, so I'm going to put a little more on. Now you can add your favorite toppings. All right, we're doing a half pepperoni, half cheese, but don't forget the oregano. Put a ton of oregano on there, and that's the last thing you need to do before you put it in the oven. All right, I've got about 3 melted tablespoons of butter. I'm going to sprinkle some garlic powder into it, stir it up, and have that ready to go when the pizza comes out. Every couple minutes, you're going to want to come in and rotate the pizza. So maybe about 90 degrees, and then put it back in. I may have cooked this a little bit too long, but this is ready. And one this big, you're going to want to cut it into 12 pieces, just like the hands on the clock. Last step, take your garlic butter and your brush and go over the crust. Put a little Parmesan or red pepper on there to flavor. Get your pizza server, and you're ready to eat.